Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to session number 9 of the Best Practices webinar series here. Today's topic is going to be leveraging iLobby for employees. Now, before we get started, my name is Patrick Irwin, and I'm a customer success manager here at iLobby. I'm going to be presenting the material today, and along with me, I also have my colleague Mayank, who's going to be moderating and supporting and answering any questions you may have in the chat as we go through as well.
Hey everyone, my name is Mayank. I'm part of the customer success team as well, and I'll just be here to help Patrick with all the questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, so as far as agenda goes, we're going to start off with a high-level overview of how to leverage iLobby for employees and what exactly that means. After that, I do want to chat through what the address book is, as well as what the user profile is. 'Cause employees can and often should be included in both, but I do want to talk a bit about how these two areas of the system differ. After that, we're going to talk about employee sign-in and employee pass, just a couple of quick and efficient ways to manage your employees on site, as well as those who may be visiting from other sites as well. And then we'll go through the iLobby companion app and some of the ways that this can be used by employees and users before jumping into a short demonstration as well. And then finally, we will chat about um, benefits, best practices, and finish off today's session with a bit of a Q&A as well. Now, with that being said, we are holding time at the end for Q&A, but if you do have any questions or comments throughout the course of the presentation, please feel free to include those in the chat, and Mayank can address those for you or bring them to my attention as we go through here today. All right. So first off, leveraging iLobby for your employees. So do just want to touch on this at a high level, just as we get going. So a few key use cases here start with the employee sign-in. So whether this be via employee pass or a standard sign-in flow, employee sign-in can allow for a quick and easy experience to have employees sign into Visitor OS and be managed in the same way that visitors are. Now, this allows us to track on-site employees, whether that be full-time employees at your facility or even company employees that are visiting from a different site as well. So tracking employees allows for a comprehensive reporting of everybody that's on site, both visitors, employees, contractors, whatever the case may be. And we will chat about this in a bit more detail later on. This also allows for a more comprehensive emergency management with Emergency OS as well. And ultimately, all these features can help our site stay compliant by leveraging iLobby to meet your business needs. We can also help to satisfy compliance and security requirements as well. Now, before we really get into things, I do want to make sure there's a bit of a level of understanding as to what the address book is versus what the user profile is. Now, the address book is ideally a list of all employees that work at the site or the sites managed within iLobby. Now, you may manage your address book a bit differently, and that's okay. But for the purposes of today, that's what we're looking to see. Now, from a visitor OS perspective, all available hosts must be in the address book. So if an employee is not listed in the address book, they can't actually be selected as a host when a visitor signs in at the kiosk. The address book will also contain contact details, such as emails and mobile numbers, which can be leveraged for notifications. And the employees can also be assigned to specific sites where they work. So, for example, if there's 10 different sites that you have that are managed with iLobby, but I only work at one of them, I can be assigned to just that one site. And then it is only that one site where I can be visited at and where I'm visible for visitors. Additionally, we can keep the employee list in the address book up to date by integrating with your Active Directory. However, like I mentioned, there is other ways that this can be managed as well, whether that be via import, by manually adding employee details and so on. But if you are unsure or if you'd like to learn more, please feel free to reach out to your iLobby contact or our support team, and we'll be happy to help as well. Lastly, I know the focus of my points so far has been around Visitor OS. However, I do want to highlight the fact that the address book is also used in Emergency OS for emergency notifications as well. So again, this is a very important piece. If we do have a comprehensive list of employees that are signed into the facility, it allows us to leverage that data for emergency and evacuation purposes, for notifications, if we're doing roll call at the mustering sites, and really just to manage which employees are accounted for in the event of an evacuation. All right, so while all employees may need to be in the address book, they don't necessarily have a user profile. So in order to be able to actually access the iLobby portal, we need to have those individuals set up as users with a user profile within the iLobby portal. So different roles and permissions can be assigned depending on what level of access an employee needs as well. This ranges from our account administrator permissions, which have full admin access across the platform for all sites. We also have site administrator access that will provide administrator access to specifically assigned sites, and host level access as well, which is more of a stripped down permissions level where users can only see the visitor data that's pertinent to them. All right. I do also just want to mention we do, for sign-in purposes, we do support single sign-on as well. And yeah, like I mentioned, we can assign specific sites depending on which sites a user may need visibility to as well. All right. So with all that said, the next thing I'm going to talk about is employee sign-in and the benefits of having employees sign into iLobby through VisitorOS. But before I do that, I do just want to take a quick step back and review the different types of visitor flows that are managed within iLobby at a more of a bird's eye view level. So this will be a review from the optimized visitor flow session that was conducted back in June. So some of these slides may look familiar if you attended that session, but visitor types are fully configurable for every iLobby site. Common visitor types that we see very commonly for different clients include visitors, contractors, deliveries, as well as of course employees, which is going to be kind of the main focus of today. Now, remember, there's also a number of different variables that can go into a visitor flow, and these requirements can all be configured based on visitor type. So for example, we have data fields, which are the questions that are going to be asked during the sign-in flow. We can have documents included as part of the process. Notifications can be sent to hosts. We can print badges. We can also force IDs to be scanned and even run verification through and even run verifications through internal or third-party watch lists as well. So this can all be configured based on the type of visitor that we have. So for external visitors and contractors, we may have more stringent requirements. We may require their ID to be scanned. We may run them through a watch list for verification. Um, things of that nature. There may be some additional documentation that they need to complete before coming onto site. Whereas for employees, we may just want to make that process as quick and easy as possible, just to streamline things a bit. Right. So for example, we may keep it nice and simple for employees. We just have a few data fields set up to identify who they are and really keep it as simple as that. So one point I do want to call out as well is that I know, I particularly do have some clients that have different visitor types set up for both on-site versus off-site employees. So an employee who may be visiting from a different site, who's just come into town and they're visiting, they're there for meetings or whatever the case may be. They may just require a little bit more detail, whereas an employee who is full time at this site will just be scanning in and out with Employee Pass, for example. So again, mentioned Employee Pass a couple of times. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail as we move through the session here today. But main takeaway, I guess, for employees sign in using the visitor registration flow, really just want to kind of keep things simple, keep it easy, and really have a more of an efficient, ease of use experience. So just to go through a quick example of an employee sign-in flow, what would happen is they would go ahead, just like a visitor, and select a new sign-in. Um, Maybe type in their email address. They could then select what type of visitor they are. So they would select employee, and then they'd then be prompted for any additional details that are configured. Again, this is site specific that can be configured specifically for you. Once they complete any of those details, they can complete their sign-in. So again, really no different than the visitor sign-in flows that you will have set up. They would just be catered specifically for employees and what data you would like to gather from employees. Now, this is a good opportunity to segue into talking about Employee Pass. So, Employee Pass allows us to manage employee sign-in and status on Visitor OS platform. And again, it's a really key component to managing employees in case of emergency or evacuation procedures using Emergency OS as well. So, the Employee Passes can actually be managed in the address book where we have a complete list of all on-site employees managed. Now, within the address book, we of course have contact details such as name, job title, email, and mobile number. And this is also where we're able to manage credentials. So as we can see, the employee pass details under the credentials on the far right tab that we can see there. So under credentials, we are actually able to email the pass to the employee, or we can also export it to PDF. As we see, we have a couple of options for that up towards the top of the screen. So you just want to call out, again, because it is a QR code, it is valid really on any media type. So whether that be scanning the QR code from your phone, if you have it saved there, if you have it on the iLobby companion app, which again, we'll be getting into a little bit more detail here, but we can scan the employee pass directly from the iLobby companion app. Or initially, if you do have the QR code exported and printed into a badge format or whatever fits your needs, that will also work just fine as well. So lastly, regarding the credentials, we do also have a validity period that can be set for the QR code as well. So we can see highlighted on the right-hand side, we have a start date and an expiration date that are set for that QR code. All right, so now the actual sign-in process using Employee Pass at the kiosk is really quite straightforward. So at the kiosk, we're going to select the Have a Code option that we see highlighted at the bottom of the screen here. And we will then be prompted with a QR code scanner on the kiosk. So all the employee really has to do is scan the QR code, and the sign-in for that specific employee profile will be processed by Visitor OS for us. All right, we'll just take a quick pause there. I know I've covered quite a bit of content, jumped through a few slides, so I do just want to pause in case there is any questions or anything we'd like to check in on at this point. So I'll just pause for a moment here before we um, move along to the next slide. All right.
Thanks, Patrick. I'll also mention that you'll see some help center articles that I'll keep popping in on your screen. So feel free to visit them if you need to.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. All right, so I've mentioned the iLobby companion app a few times already as we've been going through the slides. But the next topic I'm actually going to cover is touching on the application functionality and use cases in a little bit more detail. So first we have during the screenshot here, we have our home screen. So what the home screen will do is show a list of your visitors that are currently signed in. So as a host, what we can see here is a list of visitors that are currently signed in visiting me as a host. We can also see, who's currently on site, who's on site as of today, as well as anybody who's expected as well. So the expected individuals would be if I do have any upcoming events that are scheduled for today, and I'm expecting a visitor later on for a meeting or whatever the case may be. Right, the next option we have is the Visitors tab. So this gives us a list of all visitors that have visited you over time, as well as the details about their visit. So, for example, it'll have a sign in and sign out date and time. It'll indicate the host that they visited, the site that they were visiting, and any additional details about that visit may be included as well. So this is quite similar to the visitor tab that you see available in the portal. We also do have a search bar up at the top that can be used to filter the visitor list below or search for a particular visitor by name, for example. Okay, the next piece we have available is the middle arrow button. So when we do click on this icon, so the blue icon in the middle of the menu bar at the bottom, um, it provides us with a few features and different options that are available for us. So as you can see, we're able to use these features to register or sign out a visitor, as well as to sign in or to pre-register myself. There are also a few options that we see that we see listed here that mention parcels. So these are specific for our Delivery OS module, which some of you may or may not be familiar with. Now, I won't get into that in too much detail today, but if you do have any questions or would like more details around Delivery OS, please feel free to check our online resources or also to reach out to an iLobby contact for more information if you do have any interest in learning more. Lastly, we do have an option for start evacuation just at the bottom. So this is how an evacuation can be triggered from our emergency OS module. Once in progress, the companion app can also be used to manage employee and visitor statuses during the evacuation. Again, a key reason to have employees managed in Visitor OS is that it allows us to account for which employees are on site in the case of an emergency. So having comprehensive, accurate, and up-to-date data is essential in these situations, and managing employees in iLobby just really allows us to optimize the value of this feature. The next option we do have is the employee pass. So as mentioned previously, the QR code can be scanned directly from the app as well as within other media types. But if employees do have employee pass and they are using the companion app, they can use the app to scan in directly from here. And lastly, we have my profile. So in my profile, we're able to set an out of office status as well as forward notifications to another contact while you're out of office. And then we do have just kind of standard, being able to sign out of the app, enabling Face ID, kind of just standard application settings that are available here as well. Okay, so it is at this point in the presentation where we're going to have a chance to see some of these features in action. So I'm now just going to have a short demonstration overview of the iLobby companion app, as well as the employee sign-in process using Employee Pass. Okay, so I am going to start sharing a demonstration here, us using Employee Pass. So first thing we'll see in the companion app is the homepage. In the homepage, you can see my name is the user currently signed in at the very top of the screen. We can also see an overview of the visitors that I have. All right, so currently we can see that I have one visitor that's currently signed in. I can also see if I use the different options to toggle across the top that I do have one visitor expected later today. We'll see a number of other options down at the bottom of the application. We have a visitors tab. Visitors tab is going to show a list of the visitors that I've hosted over the course of time. We can also open the visit to see additional details. And so if I click into this first visit here, you can see some details around the visit, the date and time that the visitor was signed in, who their host is, what the location is, and so on. We also do have a search box up at the top of the screen. So if I begin to search for a name, it's going to filter the details, and you can see the list below is going to be filtered accordingly. The next option that we have available is the blue middle arrow button. So if I click on the blue arrow, this is going to open additional options for me. I can register a visitor. I can sign out a visitor. I can also sign in or pre-register myself from the application as well. The next couple of options that we see regarding parcels and shipments are actually in relation to our Delivery OS module. I'll leave this topic for another day. Please note that these options will only show depending on your permission level and the options that are available to you. The last option that we see on the menu is Start Evacuation. So managing employee sign-ins in Visitor OS is really a key component of the Emergency OS module, as it provides us with a comprehensive list of employee statuses when they're on the site. The Start Evacuation option will actually allow us to trigger an evacuation. The emergency process can then also be managed from the app as well. Visitor and employee statuses can be set during the evacuation process directly from the mobile device. I won't go into further detail for the purposes of this demonstration, but if you are interested, please review our online content available on Emergency OS or ask an iLobby contact for more details about that. So lastly, in the mobile app, we do have access to Employee Pass. So this is where we can leverage the QR code for employee sign-in. This can be scanned directly from the application if we're going to be leveraging the Employee Pass functionality. And lastly, we do have My Profile down in the very bottom right of the page. So this is where we can have out-of-office statuses that can be set, and notifications can actually be forwarded to another contact while you're out of the office. Okay. So that just about does it for the companion app. But before I finish off this demonstration, I do want to show how quick and efficient our employee pass works. So for the purposes of that, I'm just going to open up my iLobby kiosk on my demo here. And for employee pass sign-in, I have my QR code downloaded and ready to go. Now, again, this can be done from your companion app, or the QR code can be saved and managed however you would like. So it can be managed on your phone, on a printed out ID card, really whatever your preference is. Now to sign in, I'm just going to select the Have a Code option, and a QR code reader is going to open. So I'm quickly just going to go ahead and scan my QR code, and I'm signed in. Really is as simple as that. Now to sign out, I can actually do the exact same thing. So there's a couple of different ways we can sign out. We do have the sign out button in the bottom right, which I can use to search by name or QR code. We also do, for the purposes of the employee pass, I'm able to just use that have a code option again, and I can scan that same QR code. And because the system sees me as already being signed in, because the QR code is unique, it knows that the second scan that I'm doing is actually to sign out of the site. And that just about does it for the demonstration today. So now, before we wrap up with benefits and best practices, I do want to talk briefly about one other use case. So we've talked about managing employees through employee sign-in at the kiosk with the employee visitor type, as well as managing employees with employee pass. But I do want to call out that some clients of ours, are already using like an access control system to manage employees coming in and out of the facility. Now, ultimately, we want to make life easier for you, and adding steps to the process is never ideal. So, with that in mind, we are always open to discussing potential integrations with your access control or any other solutions that you may be using. So, if you do fall into this category, please feel free to reach out to your iLobby contact or our support team if you are not sure who to reach out to, and we'll be more than happy to have a longer conversation about your specific use cases around that as well. Okay, so with all of that content we've covered so far, and keeping all of that in mind, I'd like to wrap things up by discussing the benefits of using iLobby for employees. So, first thing we have is it's comprehensive. So, it does allow for a full list of who is on site, not just visitors. We're also going to be managing our employees and having a comprehensive overview of all individuals who may be on site. also like to say accountability. So employees are accountable to sign in and out for data validity, and this also allows for us to be able to account for employees during again during a state of emergency. The full potential of Emergency OS and Visitor OS working together can really be realized if we're tracking everybody on site. So employees, visitors, contractors, whatever the case may be. Also have ease of use and efficiency. So whether it be accomplishing things via the companion app or using employee sign-in or employee pass to keep an up-to-date list of individuals on site, we can help to streamline the process with these features and for leveraging employees within iLobby. And lastly, we have visibility and compliance. So having accurate and up to date data that's visible and easily accessible allows us to meet your business needs and help to satisfy compliance and security requirements for you. All right. So lastly, I do just have best practices. So from a best practices perspective, I like to try to keep up-to-date employee data. So just to ensure that the address book for all sites and applications is kept current. So we do have a comprehensive and up-to-date list of employees who reside at the site and who need to be available and accessible within iLobby. Next up, we have identify roles and requirements. So just to ensure that the proper employees have the proper roles and permissions in the iLobby portal, whether that be being set up as admins, as hosts, being in the address book, being able to receive notifications, having access to manage emergencies, as well as having access to the iLobby companion app as well for some of those use cases that we discussed today. And lastly, we have employee pass. So again, we've talked about a few different ways that employees can be managed within the system. However, enabling employee pass, really just allows for an efficient and accurate representation of which employees are on site at any given time. All right. So with all that said, I will open up at this time for a bit of Q&A. I see that I do have a question in the chat from Lauren, which I can speak to. So the question is, does iLobby function with UKG, which is a time clock system, and other badge access systems? So the reason for this is we need to track employees live for emergencies, but we have several hundred who start around the same time. Worry that employee pass may cause a bottleneck. Okay, great question. So, as I mentioned, we do have integration capabilities with a number of third-party vendors. I can't speak to UKG specifically, just off the top of my head with my knowledge base. Certainly, something that we can look into, Lauren, and see what the use case would be around that, what we've done in the past, and what options we may have available. And around the bottleneck, again, no, it definitely is a good call out. One thing I will note is that we can also leverage the companion app for iLobby for employee sign-ins as well. So because if you may recall, when we did go through the companion app, there was an option for sign myself in the app. So that is also something that we may be able to leverage to help eliminate any bottlenecks there. But as far as the integration itself, yeah, please feel free. We can reach out to you. Actually, we'll have your email address handy here, and we can maybe just talk about that use case specifically. But yeah, if there is any access control or any other third-party vendors that you're using, always feel free to reach out, and we're more than happy to discuss what those use cases and options we may have for that.
Sorry, Patrick, I'll just mention here. So, Lauren, yes, we do have an integration with UKG. But I'll still encourage you to reach out to someone at iLobby that you have contact with, just to check the feasibility, because yes, we do have an integration with UKG, but we still need to check the feasibility of maybe what your use case is, and then we can go from there. But I'll also try to share a PDF over here that has a list of all the providers that we integrate with. I'll see if I can do that.
Excellent. No, thanks for that additional context. That's why we have him on the call. All right. While Manning's getting that over, I will just open to see if there is any additional questions that anybody may have.
Yeah.
If all right, doesn't look like there's any more questions. Again, I will just say that we were able to provide some additional resources and links during the course of the session. Definitely some additional material that is available online, whether it be through our help center or whatever the case may be. So definitely have some great resources out there. And when in doubt, always feel free to reach out to us. Any iLobby contact that you have or our support team, they can get you in touch with the right people should you have any specific questions that you'd like to dig into a little bit more. With that said, Mike, was there anything I missed that you'd like to add or any additional color commentary you'd like to include for today's session?
No, I think you've covered everything. And yeah, integration is something that is so wide open that we cannot just pinpoint on some of the things, but and there are so many different use cases out there. So if you have any of those use cases that we may not have covered, then please feel free to reach out to us and we can then go from there. I think I did share the handout. Patrick, can you see it?
Yes, I can see emergency management integrations handout
Right.
available there.
No, and that's the one. Stacy has a question. So what is the support website to find other resources? Okay, yeah, I can share that with you. Stacy, I've entered in the chat. That's the link to our help center. You'll find a lot of useful resources in the form of videos or articles. You can just use the search bar and ask your question, and we hope that you'll find your answer in the form of one of the articles.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Mike. Additionally, we do have the support email address included in this slide here. So if you do have any specific questions or issues, and if you don't already have a contact at iLobby, so you may have a customer success manager or an account manager that you're already in contact with, you can certainly direct any questions to them. If not, you can always send things to our support team and they can point you in the right direction or get you engaged with the appropriate people as required. So we are doing these best practices webinar series. As I mentioned at the start, this is, I believe, the 9th session. So we do have another one coming up next month. The topic is still to be determined, but it is scheduled right now for January 15th. So it'd be session number 10. Yeah, stay tuned for more information about that and future sessions as well.
And we also do FacilityOS training webinars on a weekly basis. So these are just training webinars for your admins and hosts. And I've shared the link as well. It's not in the chat, but it must be hovering over somewhere on your screen. So feel free to sign up for them as well. If you don't have time or if you're not able to join them, you can still sign up so that you can receive a recording of them. And we also have pre-recorded sessions, so you can access them as well.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody much for your time to join the session today. Hope that you got something out of the session and learned a little bit of something. Like I said, always reach out for any additional questions and whatnot. But I'd like to thank you for the time and your attendance today. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks everyone, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas. See you all in the new year.
Cheers. Bye now.